The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson ran for 3 decades, featuring countless guest appearances. The program was typically relaxed and full of entertainment. Johnny prided himself on maintaining flawless poise regardless of any surprises. Yet there were evenings when everything spiraled into chaos. Animals striking him directly, near brawls erupting among top stars, or Carson losing grip on the program or his own reactions. Here are the 10 wildest episodes in Johnny Carson's legacy. Johnny gets struck by a monkey. Animal expert Jim Fowler appeared with a young baboon held on a leash. The primate was already excited upon entering, pulling and jumping as Fowler struggled to restrain it. Carson performed his standard routine with guests' animals, standing up from his desk and approaching slowly for comedic effect. However, as Johnny bent forward, the baboon abruptly thrust forward, extending its arm and hitting Carson squarely on the face, landing directly on his mouth. The impact was swift and resounding, producing a distinct smack audible above the crowd's reaction. Johnny recoiled, holding his lip in evident surprise. The crowd gasped initially, then burst into laughter upon seeing he remained upright. Fowler quickly subdued the baboon while Carson inspected his mouth for any injury. He then turned to the camera, performing an exaggerated imitation of the baboon to mask the swelling already forming on his lip. Carson kept a greater distance from the creature throughout the remainder of the appearance as Fowler monitored it carefully. This stands as one instance where genuine risk infiltrated the broadcast, and Johnny clearly wished to remove the animal immediately. Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor nearly clash. Chevy and Richard joined forces in 1977 for a unique segment. It began routinely with Richard chatting with Carson until Chevy started cutting into Richard's responses, repeating the interruption. Pryor overlooked it the first few instances, but Chevy persisted, clearly annoying Richard. On the next interruption, Richard faced him and remarked, "Have you seen Chevy's special? I don't like Chevy." "Okay, we'll return shortly and examine more slides following this break." Carson promptly transitioned to commercial to allow tempers to settle. Upon returning, the strain remained evident. Chevy interrupted once more, prompting Richard to sarcastically question with clear exasperation whether Chevy should simply host the show now. Richard's tension showed physically, his jaw tightening, lips moistening, body stiffening each time Chevy spoke over him, as if restraining himself forcefully. Chevy eventually relented, yet the harm was irreversible. Viewers witnessed 2 renowned comedians displaying authentic mutual disdain on live national TV, with Johnny frantically attempting to rescue the situation. Rod Hull's emu assaults Carson. Comedian Rod Hull appeared with his infamous aggressive emu puppet. As they settled for conversation, the emu began aggressively poking at Johnny's face and torso. Johnny genuinely lost command of the scenario, waving his arms wildly and clutching at the bird's neck to repel it while nearly tumbling from behind the desk. Everyone present recognized it as a puppet operated by a human arm, yet Carson's response was instinctive survival mode, his body disregarding the illusion. The segment descended into total disorder, with Johnny defending himself while seated, Rod fully embracing the gag, and the crowd in hysterics. The underlying authentic alarm amid the humor rendered it outrageous. That instance transformed amusement into something unpredictable, revealing Carson surrendering control not only of the program, but of his personal boundaries. This rarely occurred with Johnny Carson, who invariably preserved composure. But the bird exceeded his threshold, triggering pure reflex. Jim Fowler's bat breaks free. In 1987, Jim Fowler presented a live bat intended to remain calmly in his grasp, but it unexpectedly fluttered away, escaping his hold. Johnny immediately rose and crouched, hiding fully behind his desk as the crowd screamed and chuckled in a blend of real fright and amusement. Find the fruit where there's sight and also sense of smell. Another third man dropped a bat on me, a big bat. Fowler attempted to calmly recapture the airborne bat in the crowded studio while Carson yelped and evaded, displaying unmistakable terror as it darted about. A live creature was unrestricted in the studio, circling his head, compelling his instincts to flee rapidly. The recording is humorous today, observing Johnny Carson cowering behind his desk from a hand-sized bat. Yet in real time, it was utter pandemonium without preparation, just survival until recapture. Johnny occasionally peered over the desk to locate the bat, then rapidly ducked when it neared. The band laughed heartily at their typically unflappable host unraveling, while Ed assisted minimally, prioritizing self-protection. Fowler apologized repeatedly while grasping unsuccessfully as it evaded around the lights. It seemed eternal, but lasted perhaps 30 seconds until recapture. Johnny emerged, adjusting his suit and joking about his quick reactions to regain poise, but all had witnessed his total loss of control over a bat. The terror was undeniably genuine, making it enduring. Jimmy Stewart recites the poem about Beau. In 1981, Jimmy Stewart appeared expressly to share a poem he composed about his deceased golden retriever, Beau. The studio anticipated the content, and Johnny had reviewed it prior, yet no one foresaw its profound impact. It opened lightly with humorous anecdotes of Beau's obstinacy and misbehavior, ignoring commands and proving challenging, eliciting familiar laughs from pet owners. Stewart's characteristic hesitant style kept it resembling a standard segment, but it gradually deepened into a poignant tribute on mourning and absence, returning home anticipating Beau's presence, only to find emptiness or sensing him join the bed at night. By the closing verses, Stewart's voice trembled and faltered as both he and Carson visibly held back tears. "And I reach out my hand to stroke his hair and he's not there. Oh, how I wish that wasn't so. I'll always love a dog named Beau." Johnny struggled to maintain composure unsuccessfully, his eyes moistening and expression straining. Ed McMahon later noted it as one of the rare occasions he witnessed Johnny tear up on air. The studio fell into profound silence, akin to a somber gathering where breath awareness dominates. Viewers saw a man mourning his pet on national television as Johnny joined in sorrow. No humor to alleviate or shift topics, just embracing the raw emotion. Decades later, audiences recall this for witnessing two mature men weep over a dog, granting permission to mourn beloved losses others might dismiss. Carson recites a letter from a Vietnam soldier. In 1971, Carson shared a letter mailed to the show from a U.S. serviceman in Vietnam. It detailed viewing The Tonight Show from a combat zone and its significance to young men feeling overlooked, isolated globally, and fearful. Tuning into Johnny as a link to everyday American life, affirming normalcy persisted somewhere. As Carson read, audience laughter vanished, the atmosphere shifting to hushed stillness. Johnny decelerated, allowing words to resonate with pauses, visibly affected as his tone softened and grew deliberate. Contemporary reviews highlight it as one of the program's deepest emotional highlights, humanizing the war beyond footage by personalizing it. Not about ideology or tactics, this concerned a likely teenage or early 20s youth yearning for home, terrified, finding brief normalcy in the show. Johnny conveyed the words respectfully and sincerely, avoiding self-focus or additions, simply voicing the soldier's message. Silence enveloped the room as all contemplated real lives lost afar. Briefly, The Tonight Show bridged remembrance of ongoing events many preferred to ignore. Young mountain lion pursues Johnny. Joan Embury presented a young mountain lion called Sherpa in a typical animal segment in 1983. Johnny remained seated as Joan activated a remote toy to engage the cat's predatory drive. The lion instantly fixated with intense hunter gaze typical of untamed creatures. It crouched low and launched sudden powerful leaps perilously near Carson's face, sufficiently close for Johnny to assess the proximity to its claws and question safety. For moments, Johnny froze, eyeing the predator's direct stare while Joan casually detailed its jaw and claw strength despite youth. The crowd laughed, viewing it as entertainment, but Carson retreated and braced on the desk, prepared to bolt if the cat targeted him mistakenly. His eyes revealed internal conflict, weighing Joan's assurances of safety and training against primal alerts of danger. The contrast between professional hosting with humor and surging survival responses created compelling viewing. Johnny forced a smile, but tension showed in his posture, never averting gaze from the cat. Each leap prompted a subtle, uncontrollable flinch from rapid predator motion. Joan stayed composed, discussing behavior and conservation as Johnny evidently anticipated segment conclusion for distance. Played for comedy, yet beneath lay real unease from proximity to a capable wild threat. Richard Pryor's post-fire incident appearance. In 1980, following his near-fatal freebasing mishap, Richard Pryor returned to Carson's sofa discussing burn unit experiences and near-death thoughts. Laughter arose from Richard's enduring wit and delivery, yet underlying agony and reality permeated. Johnny approached gently, posing cautious queries and allowing Richard to steer. The crowd sensed they nearly lost him. This wasn't mere routine, but Pryor recounting self-immolation and survival. The dialogue balanced comedy and sorrow impossibly, lightening tragedy while recognizing severity. Richard required humor to cope, turning horror funny, but viewers knew the laughter masked unfunny truth. This duality intensified the segment's madness, entertainment versus raw trauma. Johnny monitored Richard's expressions, assessing comfort and readiness to proceed or shift. Audience responses varied, some chuckling at quips, others silent, absorbing gravity. It exemplified comedy as catharsis, a performer processing atrocity publicly before millions. Ed McMahon's inebriated appearance. Ed returned from lunch evidently overindulging. As Johnny's reliable partner and unflappable anchor who avoided errors, he appeared clearly intoxicated live. He slurred speech, missed timings, laughed excessively and inappropriately, disrupting Johnny's flow with incoherent remarks. Carson's expression shifted from amusement to strained irritation while steering the program amid his visibly affected co-host. The unease stemmed not from physical threat but awkward interpersonal dynamics, watching Johnny real-time decide exposure limits before millions. Embarrass a colleague? Joke to pass as intentional? Ed rambled irrelevantly, losing threads mid-sentence and restarting. Johnny redirected repeatedly, but Ed diverged anew. The band shared glances, audience reactions uncertain as it lacked planning. Viewing felt painfully cringeworthy, compelling yet avertible. Johnny upheld professionalism to conclude, but underlying anger showed beneath his grin. Ed apologized extensively next day, reportedly, but that evening endures as legendary for irreparable mishap. Johnny's ultimate goodbye. May 22, 1992, marked the final episode without guests or elaborate routines, just Carson on a stool addressing America lastly. The entrance ovation persisted so long he barely began, absorbing the acclaim. Upon quieting them, he addressed home viewers as his dearest companions ever, his voice faltering. Johnny Carson wept openly as it concluded, 3 decades ending, bidding farewell to his sole professional world since 1962. Studio attendees wept, home viewers wept, Ed wept aside, pure raw feeling live. No script captured the sensation, appropriate phrasing, or meaningful actions. Johnny displayed utter vulnerability, appreciation, and melancholy simultaneously. 30 years of masterful control concluding with open tears before millions. The wildest because most human and exposed. Performer vanishing, revealing Johnny weary, moved, departure ready, yet reluctant. All endpoint contradictions felt when Eris close permanently, shared openly. No performance, pure authenticity, unafraid to weep without concealment, jest, or diversion. For years, Johnny embodied ultimate professionalism, unbreakable, controlled. Regardless of guest chaos or discomfort, he remained steady, humorous, commanding. The desk shielded, quips defended. Audiences relied on his invincibility. Then, on the pivotal night, it dissolved. No emotional barrier desk, no escape line, no wry remark to diffuse. Just a man confronting life chapter closure real-time, post-fade uncertainty. Its impact arose from unscripted vulnerability. Not engineered sentiment, but genuine, uncontrolled, mildly uneasy true feeling. Visible struggle, retaining habit composure, then failing amplified power. All recognized the sensation. Sorrow, ease, dread, thanks colliding. Johnny shared the burden, trusting viewers with it unprotected. That faith elevated a TV instance to enduring legacy, discussed decades later for authenticity in a largely fabricated medium. Did these unforgettable Tonight Show incidents reveal anything new to you? Were you tuned in live for any? Share your thoughts in the comments. For additional outrageous tales from Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show's remarkable 30-year history, hit subscribe for more in-depth explorations like this. Thank you for watching.